Here's an update on a knife build that I've been doing. Getting ready to glue the handles up. And here I am marking out the front area of the handle so that I know where I'm going to rough up the tang. The handle slabs have already been roughed up with some sandpaper and the G10 pins. The area that I marked up at the front of where the handle is going to go, just being very careful to not cross that line that I drew in pencil, since that would scratch the area that's going to be seen and would probably require having to go back and resand the knife back down. I'm using a 60 grit piece of sandpaper to do this. And I have alcohol pads that I use for cleaning everything up. The alcohol pads make it pretty easy. I make sure I get in the pinholes, any weight reduction holes that are drilled through. Clean the pins off, clean the slabs off. Make sure everything is nice and degreased. No fingerprints. Do that a couple times to make sure everything's good to go. And next up is mixing up the epoxy. Of course, put on some rubber gloves, because getting that on your hands is no fun. Getting the rest of the stuff set up for the epoxy, including some acetone to clean off any excess squeeze out. I do weigh out the epoxy and the hardener. I know that is not typical, but I figure out the weight ratio for the hardener and the epoxy, so I can get it 50-50 every time. I definitely make sure that I mix it up very thoroughly. In the past, I think I have tried to glue up some handles and some liners where I may have skipped a little bit on the time that I've taken to mix up the epoxy. Make sure I get all the sides and everything off of the inside of the cup. Put a nice even coat of epoxy on the inside of the first handle. Put some epoxy on the pins. And then some epoxy on the tang. Just trying to make sure that I can get as good a bond as possible by epoxying all sides. And then get the handles on. Clean off any excess squeeze out that I can get off. The clamps that I use, I've wrapped some parchment paper around the rubber pads just to help the clamps not stick to the handles with epoxy on it. If any of the squeeze out gets onto the clamps, it's real easy to get them off because of the parchment paper. And now it's just going through meticulously and cleaning off the front of the handle area from the squeeze out, get it off the blade. Just clean both sides really good until I'm satisfied with it, but being very careful not to clean out too much from the mating surface and where you get the acetone up underneath the handle slab, because I definitely don't want that. This part I definitely take my time with, just to make sure that it's being done right. and after the epoxy is cured, that'll be time to shape the handle.